Greetings, I'm your host Dr. Wolfula with a bit of a different video this time. Not one, but two official games based on the Halloween franchise have just been announced to be in the works with the involvement of series co-creator John Carpenter, who's more of a full-time gamer than filmmaker today, so this is something he's likely to actually care about.
Fuck you.
After this video was originally written though, one of these Halloween games was put up for pre-order for an October 18th, 2024 release. Halloween Retro Realms Double Feature, a retro 2D platformer from Way Forward, the developer of the Shantae games, which will also include a 2D Ash vs. Evil Dead game. In the originally written version of this video, I actually correctly predicted that one of the then unseen Halloween games would be a retro 2D platformer, and I'm still pretty disappointed I was correct, for a few reasons. Now, I like platforming games, but Halloween isn't really a good fit for a platformer beyond the novelty of playing as Michael Myers in a game that's like the NES Freddy and Jason LJN games if they didn't suck. But it'll just be DuckTales with Michael Myers swapped in. These retro-style games can be fun, but it sometimes just feels like it's more about having a product to bundle in with a bunch of collectibles to sell to desperate nostalgic horror fans. And, you know, one of the two upcoming Halloween games being something safe like a retro platformer definitely indicates that the publisher is playing it safe with the license. Something inexpensive like a 2D platformer, which means they're likely gonna play it safe with the other Halloween game. The thing is, we don't know much about the other announced Halloween game. We just know that it runs on Unreal Engine 5 and that it's being developed by Boss Team Games, who developed Evil Dead the game, which was an asymmetrical multiplayer game. So we can maybe guess their Halloween game is probably going to also be asymmetrical. But hey, they also made a Cobra Kai card fighting game, so for all we know it could be like that. We just don't have much information.
Score!
The early announcement of the Unreal Engine Halloween game is very likely to build up hype for a teaser or even gameplay trailer this October, and we'll possibly see the Unreal Halloween game release in October next year, but this is all just speculation. We haven't had many Halloween games to compare to. The first was on Atari 2600, an era of gaming where you kinda just took what you could get. And last year we got Halloween Match Made in Terror, a free-to-play but microtransaction-heavy Match 3 mobile puzzle game that's as big of a lazy cash grab as you could possibly get. I guess they also made some browser endless runner games that sucked ass. There have been some very impressive Halloween fan games in the past, like the Puppet Combo game that ultimately became Babysitter Bloodbath due to legal issues, and Michael Myers has officially guest starred in games as DLC, like the popular asymmetrical game Dead by Daylight. Questionably appearing in Call of Duty, and of course, fucking Fortnite, doing the floss and shit. But we've never gotten an earnest attempt to officially make a full-blown modern Halloween game before. And since we don't know jack shit right now about one of the two upcoming Halloween games, there are lots of possibilities for what a modern Halloween game could look like, and I figured I might as well explore these possibilities while we still know so little about one of the games. From breaking down the most obvious option for a Halloween game to sharing some ideas for Halloween games I'm personally wishing for. But before we do that, I gotta give a shout out to my sponsor, me! Pledge to my Patreon today to support the channel, help it continue to grow, and you'll also get access to weekly movie nights every Sunday and archive commentaries if you missed the movie nights live. Just $5 a month to get a movie night every week. Here's the movie I'll be streaming next Sunday. Pledge to patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula if you're interested in my bonus streams, and I thank you in advance. The most obvious, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you ask, likely approach to one of these Halloween games, especially based on the developer, is following the trends by making a Halloween asymmetrical multiplayer game. Michael Myers appeared as DLC in Dead by Daylight, but that didn't fucking stop Leatherface and Ash from getting their own standalone asymmetrical games with mixed results. If the publisher does make their other Halloween game asymmetrical, it will come with some obvious baggage. This could be confirmation bias on my part, but it seems like a lot of gamers are burned out on asymmetrical multiplayer games, especially since it's become the de facto style of game when adapting a beloved horror movie franchise. There just isn't much creativity there. It's usually a bunch of survivors going through some elaborate, repetitive ritual to escape from a killer or killers. The online element of acting out a horror movie scenario with real people from the safety of your home does have some appeal, but for me it can get old really fast, and these games generally have little to no single-player content, which is what I'm personally more interested in. The other issue with a Halloween asymmetrical game lies with the developer itself, Boss Team Games. Their Evil Dead game was pretty good as far as asymmetrical games are concerned. It did some things differently, but they stopped supporting the game after 1 year. No new content, and you want a multiplayer game to have a long-term lifespan and community surrounding it.
I think I can make this work.
The discontinuation of support for the Evil Dead game could be attributed to its publisher, Saber Interactive, undergoing corporate restructuring, but still, this is something that should be considered when getting an asymmetrical Halloween game from the dev behind Evil Dead. If we do get an asymmetrical Halloween game, which feels likely, there are obvious cliched ways to approach it that you'll see in games like Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw, and Friday the 13th. And then there are ways to approach an asymmetrical Halloween game that could actually have a little more fidelity with how Halloween movies actually play out. First, let's address the obvious, more crowd-pleasing Friday the 13th gamey approach to an asymmetrical Halloween game. You have a selection of big, sprawling maps based on locations from the movies, like the suburbs from the original Halloween, Haddonfield Memorial Hospital from 2, Smiths Grove Sanitarium, Hillcrest Academy from H2O, Laurie Strode's house with its surrounding woods from 2018, and even the junkyard from Ends, just as a few examples that come to mind. You have, say, 8 players in a match, 7 are survivors, and 1 is, of course, the Shape, the latter of whom only has one mission: making sure the survivors aren't true to their name. The survivors are, of course, trying to survive, and in order for them to win, after finding and getting 3 babysat kids or trick-or-treaters or whatever to safety, the survivors have to either manage to kill Michael, trap him, get the power on to call the cops, or make enough noise to get the attention of a well-armed special character one of the players can take control of, like Dr. Loomis, Sheriff Brackett, or even the 2018 Laurie Strode. And these special characters have to shoot Michael 6 times and take his mask while he's briefly incapacitated.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
The basic survivors can be a mix of characters from the films like 1978 H2O or remake Laurie, Linda, Annie, Rachel, Tommy, John, or Allison, and even totally new characters. Michael Myers could be fully customizable. You could have him look the way he does in one of the movies, or mix and match his body, mask, outfit, and weapon from different movies to your liking. Want to wear a Shatner mask, a clown mask, a scarecrow mask, or a papier-mâché mask? Want to be James Jude Courtney wearing a clown mask with a jumpsuit while wielding a scalpel? You can do that, it's whatever you feel like. They could even have gimmick DLCs like a what-if scenario where you get Danielle Harris reprising Jamie Lloyd, but as an adult killer, playable in matches. Go hardcore on the fan service without having to worry about continuity. No! In matches, Michael can't run, but he can drive, and as long as Michael is out of view of another player, he can disappear and reappear in a different location on the map. Now that's the obvious approach to an asymmetrical Halloween game, but Halloween movies don't tend to deal with big sprawling locations like in Friday the 13th movies with a dozen victims wandering around. Usually Halloween locations are cramped, dark places where Michael hides in the shadows. And encounters with him tend to be intimate affairs with one or a few victims in Michael's sights. So if they do make an asymmetrical Halloween game, as a change of pace, it'd be nice to see them try to have the gameplay feel closer to what a Halloween movie is like in at least one of the modes, a babysitter mode if you will. Matches could take place in smaller maps like a single house or just the wing of a hospital, and involve a few or even just one survivor trying to escape a player-controlled Michael who could pop out at any time, and you have to scrounge for weapons or use whatever is available to you to save the kids you're babysitting and beat Michael in the process. The Evil Dead game did also have a light mission-based single-player mode, so we can maybe expect to see something like that included, with some Hitman-style missions, killing AI victims off, but you're probably going to need to be online to play it because that's just the way things are now, unfortunately.
I can't see you!
Okay, so those are my ideas for the obvious asymmetrical Halloween game we'll probably get. But what's my ideal Halloween game? Well, it's gotta be single player, capturing the feeling of surviving the shape while still allowing the player to also take control of Michael.
Since when did they let them wander around?
The game would be styled after Alien Isolation, where Michael is a persistent threat wandering the halls of Smith's Grove Sanitarium on a Halloween. You just started working at Smith's Grove when a breakout happens on a rainy night, much like in Batman Arkham Asylum, and you have to escape the sanitarium while evading the shape and other deranged inmates. The constant threat, though, is Michael Myers. Like the xenomorph in Isolation, the shape is always nearby and can instantly kill you if you're not careful. He learns your tactics, so you need to get creative and constantly change your strategy up surviving encounters with Michael. The entire environment of Smith's Grove is at your disposal. Run from Michael, hide, or use whatever object or weapon you can to buy you time and avoid Michael's wrath. Find a flagpole, impale Michael with it. Find a fire extinguisher, hit him over the head with it. You can do whatever you want, it's up to you. In this game, you can also be the hunter instead of the hunted, though. Between chapters, you can experience flashbacks to Michael's past Halloweens, where you can play as Michael in Hitman-style stealth scenarios, stalking and killing prey, and levels inspired by classic Halloween scenes. You can continue playing as Michael outside the campaign in an Arkham Asylum-style challenge mode, where you get more missions, collecting medals based on your murder performance, time, and if you met certain criteria. Towards the end of the story campaign, you would even get to switch to playing as Dr. Loomis, arriving to put an end to his patient Michael. So those are my ideas for my ideal Halloween game, but there are other possibilities for Halloween games, so I might as well explore them too. Another option for a single-player Halloween game would be an interactive narrative a la Until Dawn or Telltale Games, where it's essentially a movie where you can make choices that affect the plot and do some light exploration with QuickTime event action sequences. I would want more exploration and conventional gameplay mixed in with the interactive cutscenes, though, than what we see in a game in the Until Dawn mold, less QuickTime events. Essentially, you could have an interactive reimagining of the original Halloween that deals with babysitters stalked by Michael Myers on Halloween, with the story shifting to the doctor and sheriff perspectives throughout the night, and your choices decide the fates of the characters. You could also tell an alternative sequel to the original Halloween or a story between movies. Like maybe something did happen between Halloween Kills and Ends that we just didn't see. Or an alternate Halloween Ends where you get to decide how the series ends. There could be another Halloween puzzle game in the mold of Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle, but I definitely wouldn't be interested in another puzzle game starring Michael Myers. Another option in the knockoff category is they could make a Five Nights at Freddy's style game where you're a guard at Smith's Grove and you have to watch the cameras looking out for Michael Myers, keeping him from killing your ass and escaping. Wouldn't be into that either, personally. I'm just exploring possibilities. While I'm at it, I might as well put Halloween card out there. Michael drives, it could happen.
I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor.
Whatever form the other Halloween game takes, though, I'm looking forward to both games. Our options for Michael Myers in video games so far haven't been for me, and there aren't many games that take place on Halloween. The only ones that come to mind are Costume Quest and Arkham Knight. So it'll be nice to have some new games to get into a Halloween mood the rest of the year. But what are your ideas for a Halloween video game? Share them down in the comments below, and if you like more videos like this in the future, click that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe subscribe and click the bell. Whatever the unrevealed Halloween game turns out to be, I just hope you get to play as Busta Rhymes.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
This video is made possible through the pledges of my Patreon supporters, and I'd like to give a very special thanks to the kind folks pledged to my shoutouts tier. All of the support on Patreon means a lot to me, and it helps my dark influence continue to grow. If you like this video, like it, and if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. Be sure to also keep in touch by following me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula. While I still have your attention, consider pledging to my Patreon to support the channel and get bonus content like previews, VIP Discord server access, private movie night streams, and credits in videos. Consider pledging at patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. Also, check out official Dr. Wolfula t-shirts and other merch on tpublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out.